Welcome to the Freemasonry Report. Today in the Freemasonry Report, Freemasons versus zombies. Hello, my brothers. We have another episode that I think you will enjoy on the Freemasonry Report. It is about Freemasons versus zombies. This is a just for fun video. I wanted to cover this with you because I thought, why not break it up? It doesn't always have to be so stuffy. There's been a lot of feedback and I appreciate the feedback, but I figured this would be fun. So if you don't like this type of video, now it's time to click off. Okay, for the rest of us that are still here, I want to thank you for tuning in, and we're going to get started on how I believe the Freemasons will be successful in fighting the zombie apocalypse. Okay, the first reason I really think the Freemasons will be successful over the zombies. Now, I'm gonna say right off the bat, not every Freemason will make it, simply because when the zombie apocalypse happens, there'll be a surprise. Some of us may be lost to getting bit by a zombie. So when you take out the fact that you have the attrition rate of not everyone grouping together, there's a possibility that not 100% of every Freemason will make it. Unless, of course, you take this video literally and you're like, I'm going to take every one of his steps that he shares and puts it into use, and then you may have 100% of your lodge brethren survive the zombie apocalypse, if there is one. Okay, first things first, you need to set up supplies such as having warm clothing ready to go, drinking water. You need to have a safe location to get to. Now, this is why I think the Freemasons are ahead of the game. We have the lodge. Most lodges are built out of solid construction. We have food pretty much pre-prepped for our monthly meals that are purchased and sometimes actually stored in the lodge. Now, if that is the case, the Freemason lodges that do that will be ahead of the game. Water, there's generally bottled water and iced teas and different types of drinks available in a Freemason lodge. Now, I'm not going to get into like other organizations like the Scottish Rite and the Shrine. I might do a follow-up video on that. If you think this is a really cool video, if I get the 25 likes on this video on YouTube, I'll do a follow-up episode on one of the appendant bodies. Okay, so let's get back to it. Why is a Freemason lodge and the Freemasons more likely to be successful in a zombie apocalypse? Well, let's just say you sprain your ankle and you fall over. Freemasons are a vast variety of different people from different careers. So we have people in law enforcement, ex-military, EMTs, nurses, teachers, we have firefighters, we have business people, we have a wide variety of different people. So if you do get hurt, there's more of a chance that our community that we have already created for ourselves prior to the zombie apocalypse has that person that can help you out. And on top of that, we also have family members. So if the Freemason is not the said person, he's going to be bringing his family along with him to the lodge when things go crazy, and his wife or his child may have that skill. Now, when I say child, I don't just say like a 7-year-old little girl like I have, but it could be an adult child that may be an EMT, or it might be an ER nurse that was just not on duty and they just decided to get out because everything was going crazy. Okay, so most survival experts always say you need to create a new community. Well, in the Freemasons, we technically already have built in a new community. We have elected leadership, we have people doing different jobs and functions, we have an overall arching structure for the Grand Lodge as well, where we have district deputies, we have Grand Lodge officials, and we have a Grand Master, and we have district instructors. We have a litany of people to go use as resources. So when the world goes crazy, actually Freemasonry has a structure already built into place to better adapt to that situation. The real key, and the number one key, is not to get started with a new community, but just to get together with your Freemason community. And when you get all together and you create a stronghold at a lodge or a preset designation, because some lodges might be too urban and they may get overrun by zombies, but they may have a secondary location to fall back to, or they might say, our lodges will group together and everyone meet at this location. You might have a better chance of making it. And again, by sticking together, there's safety in numbers, and the more numbers you have is more mouths to feed, but it also means you have more people to guard against, restart society, where you can repopulate the area, and you can give more people things to do. So that's something to consider when the Freemasons take on the zombies. The other great thing is by going to your lodge and getting there, now you put yourself in a position where foraging is not so challenging because you have a place to get back to and you can have a headquarters. And also by foraging, you can clear areas against random zombies and reestablish some semblance of a mini hamlet around the lodge area while collecting food and supplies that you can bring back to the lodge. Now, one of the big things that I believe will be a game changer for some Freemason lodges over other, when you just think about the pure getting together and surviving, is a fresh water source. So if you have a lake, a stream, or something else where you can get water once your water supply runs down is critical, or if your lodge has a well, it's going to make all the difference in the world. So those are some of the things when you get together and say, I'm going to start a new community, I want to have that, you need to keep in mind. So how would you take on the zombies? This is where it gets interesting. Okay, now as I said before, we as a fraternity have a variety and vast wealth of experience that's already tapped in to our lodges. So we have the military veterans with the military experience. We have the law enforcement, we have the firefighters, we have the people that are first aid responders, and then we have general brethren that in some cases are hunters, or they might be shooting sports aficionados, and you have other brothers that might be just more into more administrative functions and they're good at cooking. So you have a well-rounded community that you could quickly put together. So when you take on the zombies, these individuals will come forward with weapons, ammunition, knives, all the things that you would need to stockpile at your lodge. Now I know I did a video at Guns and Lodge where I talked about like concealed carry in lodge. If you want to watch that video, I'll put a link in now. But this is more of a hypothetical, probably never will happen, what if scenario. So in this case, I'm going to give you some types of armament that you may consider that you probably would have in this situation. Number one, a sidearm. Because you have a vast wealth of brothers, you probably have numerous sidearms. Each one of the members of your lodge and your survival group probably would have a handgun on their waist or somewhere on their person. You would have a knife, you would have a pocket knife, and of course you would have a semi-automatic weapon, because automatic weapons are illegal unless you have a brother that has that $10,000 to waste on getting a special license and has all the money for the automatic weapons. In that case, you're really ahead of the game, because he's probably going to bring that to the aid of the craft in your local area. If that does happen, you're really more likely as a lodge to survive a zombie apocalypse. But having an AR-15 and AK-47, my recommendation is something that you probably do want to have is an SAR-10, because that's a more long distance style rifle that you can have in different calibers, and you can take down different things from a long distance, from hunting maybe a random deer to a zombie that might be 500 to 1,000 feet off. The other really good part about having types of weapons, once you have your area secured, you can easily set up camp and have people guarding it. Now, the other thing you want to consider as a fraternity, because you might not have everyone make it out, is actually having teams of people to go out and be getting other Freemasons and their families and bringing them back to the lodge area to make a stronghold. Now, where it gets kind of interesting is that the brothers may be coming to you, but if you have a plan in place when things start going crazy with the zombies, you could say, hey, now's the time to meet and bring X, Y, and Z supplies. This will give you a real good head start. The other thing is, by bringing all the brothers' cars around and blocking in the lodge area, you can make a semi fortress of the vehicles, and then have vehicles to use and have gasoline to pull from the vehicles in case you're there for a very extended period of time. Here's another reason why that Freemasonry will beat the zombies. One, you have the firepower. Two, you have the knowledge. But three, you have the values and the integrity of the fraternity. If different lodges set up their own little Masonic hamlets that they're fighting zombies in, you're on the level with each other and you can share supplies and not have to worry about integrity issues. Because when you have a random rove of anyone, you don't know who you're dealing with. But we've checked out all our brothers in the previous period of time before the zombies hit, where we know they're good people, they have integrity, they have values, they live up to the Masonic code that we have set. On top of that, we also have the Masonic law, which supersedes societal law. So when society breaks down and that law falls apart, our law will still be in place and we'll still hold each other to that Masonic law, which gives us a much more higher level of success. Okay, so now that I covered a little bit about how you would beat the zombies through firepower knowledge and how you would start to establish communities on Masonic law, you would now be able to take on random groves of things and you would forage. But there's other things that you need to do. And some of that is actually starting to establish civilization and society again. So what are the things that you need to do to beat the zombies and be successful over the long term and just not the short term? Because there's two periods. You have the short term where you're getting together, you're fighting, and you're getting control of your close proximity. And the longer term is expanding it out to be much more successful. So let's look at that. You need to have certain key people that have skills. The skills of the past of having someone that's good at sales goes out the window, but having someone that's good at fishing is becoming very much more of a need. For the rural lodges, fishing is kind of a go-to thing. And for some of the urban lodges where they have brethren that may have grown up in a rural area that know how to fish, this is like a go-to item. So bring your fishing gear to the lodge with you, because that will become very important over the long term. Because when you get to those rivers, you get to those lakes, you get to those different places, you want to grab your fishing gear and get fish so everyone can have a nice dinner. The other thing that's so important over the long term is endurance. So getting in shape, running, working out, staying physically active is going to be a big deal, because there's going to be a point in time where you're going to have to be on the move. And today we have cars, but cars might run out of gas. Vehicles might not be kept up with. It might become a Mad Max lifestyle. So being able to run and walk long distances is going to be key. Now, the way you get around that is if you have livestock. If you're in a rural lodge, you have horses and you have other means where you could take advantage of that. You just need to have an area set up where you could say, this is our spot where we'll have these agricultural things. The other thing for the long-term safety of everyone and keep them healthy is water safety. So when you look over the long term, initially you'll have bottled water, gallon water, you might be able to pull stuff, but you're going to need to, once you run out of sanitizer tablets, you're going to have to think about water safety and how you're going to get fresh water and keep it clean. So having that water element in place is going to be very, very important. And having that secured is also going to be very, very important. So as time goes along, you want to build perimeters further and further out away from the Masonic Lodge, so zombies don't get through. And once again, it goes back to those long distance rifles where you can have people maybe on the top of lodges or on the top of other places they can climb to get good aerial perspective and take down random zombies as they get closer to your encampment. Okay, so we talked about a lot of stuff, but now I want to get into the real critical issue. This is the make or break why I think the Freemasons can win and make an impact against zombies and overcome the actual zombie apocalypse. The zombie horde. Now, I know that's counterintuitive. How do you think the Freemasons can win against a zombie horde? Well, because of the fact that Freemasons have Freemasons lodges throughout the country and throughout the world, there's fallback points. So if one Freemason lodge gets overrun by a zombie horde and they can't maintain that location, they can fall back to another town's or city's Masonic lodge. And now they have more people pulling together with more skills and talents, more armament, more supplies to actually take on the horde and win. Also, by doing that, we have now put in a network in place where we are stronger than the horde and will win because our talents will be grouped together. This is a key factor that makes a big difference. Now, if it turns out that our network gets strong, and a lot of Freemason lodges said, we're going to plan for the zombie apocalypse and we're going to prepare and we're going to have these fortresses of Masonic readiness ready to go, you can actually then sort of take on the horde, because 4 or 5 Masonic lodges can communicate with each other, maybe by a runner, someone on horseback. If you have a motorcycle with gas or a car with gas, you can go back and forth and say, okay, we need to group our forces together and take on the horde, and you can possibly win. If you have enough Freemason lodges get together and you have enough military veterans in place, they can come up with the military tactics to actually win effectively. Now, the other thing that to keep in mind, that why I think the Masonic lodges will defeat the zombies, is they are organized. And it goes back to organization, and they have the values and the integrity to do so, where general society may not have that readiness level. we come in with that experience and ready to take it on. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of the Freemasonry Report completely just for fun. Obviously, there's no zombies, there's no zombie apocalypse, and there's no zombie hordes, but it's kind of fun to go down that path. I did recently shave. I like to shave now and again, so you get to see my clean face for once, and we'll be growing a beard back out. But if you do like the Freemasonry Report, click like and subscribe to this video. If you give me 25 likes to this video, I'll make a follow-up video with the Scottish Rite or the Shrine or the York Rite and how they would take on the zombies and if they would win. And I'm available on Patreon, so if you want to make a little contribution at Patreon, I'll talk about a topic that you like. So with that being said, we're all over the web. Tumblr, Facebook, Instagram. Find us, like us. We have a lot of good stuff going on out there. Be safe, stay healthy, and enjoy Freemasonry. Take care, my brothers.